Good evening, everyone. This is Jacob Terrell from the Terrell Severe Storm Center. Wanted to do this video briefing concerning the potential for a few strong to possibly severe thunderstorms later in the week, so let's get right to it. This is obviously something that we're going to be monitoring here pretty closely, and we'll kind of break it down day by day. Tuesday, we are looking at a very low-end possibility of an isolated strong, perhaps severe storm, maybe some marginally severe hail. Right now, again, it's a very small chance. That could change. It is something that we will watch. But right now, the threat does not look overly impressive. Wednesday, slightly higher threat of severe weather with hail, potentially some damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado. The threat Wednesday isn't horribly impressive either, but it's a little higher than what it is on Tuesday. The best possibility for strong to a few severe storms will be Thursday, and especially I think into Thursday evening and the overnight hours. Hail, wind, and possibly a couple tornadoes as well. And so this is the severe weather outlook here for the Storm Prediction Center. As you can see, there is a slight risk, which is the standard risk basically, from the Great Plains expanding here into the Midwest and West Central Illinois, portions of the Ozark regions. And that is where there could be severe weather and potentially some significant severe weather. There is some questions regarding the what we call the capping inversion. That's warm air, as we've talked. I think we've addressed this before. Warm air aloft that prevents the more surface-based warm air parcels from rising. You have to have a lot of energy and a good trigger mechanism, basically, to break through that cap. It can be done, and that is obviously the reason for this outlook. So again, that is a standard risk out there across the plains and into portions of the Midwest for Wednesday, and then surrounding that, a marginal risk area. So a low-end threat of severe weather Wednesday. There is no risk area, official risk area Tuesday, because the threat is just so low, and so that's why I do not have a threat. That's why I do not have a picture. So again, the threats for Tuesday and Wednesday look relatively low at this point. We'll continue to monitor it though. That could change. And then here you can see the screen here to your right. And I want you to watch day 4 as it pops up here. Now, for some reason they've changed this up. I don't really like it too much. It's pretty flashy, I think. But you can see the red shaded area out there across much of Illinois. That is where the Storm Prediction Center is indicating a fairly significant potential for severe weather on Thursday. They do not do the categorical outlooks like marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, that kind of stuff. They do not do that within the 4 to 8 day range because it's still a lot of uncertainty and a little difficult to narrow it down to a specific categorical risk. But as you can see, that 30% risk out there in Illinois when it shows up here, and surrounding that, a 15% risk area for much of Indiana. And again, you have to break that down, as I said before, you have to break it down to 25 miles within a given point of that area. So 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles of a given point. That's a reason. That's a pretty standard severe weather threat. And with that 30% area out there not too far away in Illinois, that's something that we're going to have to watch. That can obviously change. We could see the 30% area shifted into our area, or we could see the threat as a whole pushed back a little bit because it's still relatively early, and so there's plenty of time for changes. However, one reason I'm doing this video is I want to make it clear that severe storms look to be possible, at least by Thursday and Thursday night. So again, I wanted to remind you all of the severe thunderstorm risk categories that are issued by the Storm Prediction Center. General thunderstorms where no severe weather is expected. Then you have your marginal risk. Isolated severe thunderstorms are possible. That's what that indicates. slight risk, scattered severe storms possible. Then you have your enhanced risk, numerous severe storms are possible. You have your moderate risk, widespread severe storms are likely. And then you have your very rare high risk, widespread severe storms expected. Typically, once you get into the moderate and high risk categories, and sometimes even the enhanced risk categories, um, you begin to talk about the potential of significant organized severe weather that could really create some issues. And the 30% equivalent area that you saw in the day 4 through 8 outlook, if that was through days 1 through 3, that would qualify as an enhanced risk. So there is something that we're going to have to watch out there, definitely, as the storm system continues to get organized. So with a lot of uncertainty, we encourage you to continue to check back for more updates. I want to stress that there is lots of uncertainty in this developing severe weather threat in respects to timing, the degree and magnitude of the threat, what kind of storm mode we could be looking at, whether it's going to be a big squall line or maybe more of an isolated supercell situation with out ahead of a big line of storms. With the likelihood of this threat coming in during the late afternoon, evening hours, that could be suggestive of a squall line getting organized out in Illinois and then pushing through the area. But again, the timing, the magnitude of the threat, and all that is all in question. So we just don't know a whole lot at this point, but something that we are going to continue to watch and keep you updated on. Just wanted to show you a couple of things that we look on models. This is the NAM. This would be valid right within the Thursday time frame. You can see some nice surface dew points making them up here into the Illinois-Indiana region. That's low to mid 60s dew points, definitely sufficient for severe weather. Something else that we look at, which would be CAPE. This is convective available potential energy, basically instability. Now, sometimes the NAM can be a little more aggressive. It kind of has a little bit of a bias sometimes when it comes to convective weather and thunderstorm forecasting, but this is suggesting clearly significant instability values out across central and northeast Illinois within the 3,000 range and higher. It's not as aggressive with instability over here in Indiana, but there is definitely some values within the 1,000 to 1,250 range, and so that would still be sufficient for severe weather. This is a look here at the Energy Holicity Index, and those numbers aren't screaming, but they are sufficient. These colors and these values, it is sufficient, not for severe weather. We'll look at one other thing here, and that is the bulk shear at 500 millibars. And the shear is not all that impressive according to this. It almost looks like it could be another situation, kind of like what we saw last week when the shear is kind of parallel to the front. But again, we have seen model runs that have suggested otherwise. Basically, the higher shear values you have, the higher your supercell tornado threat will be, because this is, as we talked about during our campaign, wind shear is basically the turning of the winds within the atmosphere that leads to sustained thunderstorm updrafts. It leads to mesocyclones, which is rotation within the thunderstorm updraft, which qualifies the storm as a supercell and eventually leads to the development of tornadoes. The shear right now doesn't look terribly impressive, but again, we've seen runs that have suggested otherwise. And again, this is just one model. This is the NAM. This is a pretty good model. Generally, when it comes to severe weather, there's others that we like to look at: the GFS, HRRR, European, the SURF. Plenty of other models that we look at here, and we could go on for hours showing you every parameter and showing you every potential parameter on every different model. And so again, we just wanted to make you aware that a few severe storms are looking possible for the Thursday and Thursday night time frame. There's still a lot of uncertainty, but right now, hail, damaging winds, a couple of tornadoes are all possible. I think the threat overall will be somewhat higher, at least, across Illinois. But again, we will continue to watch it very closely. And don't forget, there's still a relatively low-end possibility. It's for a severe storm or two come Tuesday, which would be tomorrow, and Wednesday. The threat isn't overly impressive at this point, but that is something we will continue to monitor as new model runs come in, as new data comes in. So just keep it here. It looks like the tornado season, well, pretty much it already has come to life. Came to life kind of late March when we saw the tornadoes in Oklahoma. But it looks like the season could really be starting to pick up. We're talking further out there in the plains on Wednesday. As the storm system develops out there in the plains, we could be talking about a significant severe weather outbreak across those areas with very large hail, tornadoes, and damaging winds, and just how significant the threat will be as it moves further east into the Mississippi Valley. That's what is really in question at this point. If it's going to be a lower-end threat, or whether or not states like Illinois, maybe even Indiana, could be looking at a more of an elevated threat, kind of like the plains. Again, there's lots of questions out there, and we just do not have the answers right now, but just make sure that you are aware. Tuesday, Wednesday, low-end threat of a severe storm or two, and then on Thursday, as the storm system kind of gets within the vicinity of the area, as the cold front pushes through, there is going to be a higher possibility of severe weather with hail, damaging winds, and potential for a couple tornadoes all on the board. So this will be something that we continue to monitor closely. Make sure you continue to check back for the latest information. Thank you and have a great evening.